Hi there. Welcome to my channel. I'm Prajna O'Hara, and I want to talk to you today about listening. I just came from a movie, and I'm probably going to butcher the name, but it was Are You There, God? It's Margaret. Are you listening? And my daughter really wanted to see this, so we actually drove 40 minutes into Santa Clara to see it at a very comfortable movie theater, which was quite odd for me. But there are many themes in the movie, and on the way home, I'm talking to my daughter to try to see what it was she gathered from it. She's, a young woman, but developmentally, it takes her a little more time to really digest and sort through things. And many of us are that way, to like really like let something land with us, see how it lands, what kind of filters does it need to move through, and how we interpret things all according to our own kind of conditioning and the different layers or labels that we may hold for ourselves and for others. So you could say that this was in a sense about religion and this idea of, is there really a God, and if there is one, are you listening, and what does that mean? What is prayer? And do we get what it is we want when we pray? Is that about getting what you want? Or is there something deeper going on in that? And the young girl, I think she was 11 in the end, she had to write a paper about religion, encouraged by her school teacher. And in the end, she decided for a while at least that she didn't really believe in religion. She felt that it created conflict with her father being Jewish and her mother being Christian, and the two families not being able to communicate, connect, to have connection, feeling. I think she was really looking for the feeling of connection and belonging and knowing where she belonged. So she felt that it wasn't going to happen in religion and that was really kind of a waste. And then she got what she wanted kind of in a way in the end, and then she thought maybe there is a God that listens. Well, if you really reflect on it a bit more, the questions that she was asking to the so-called God, if you're there, were really questions that she was asking that she wanted answers to, but the answers kind of unfolded in her life because she had these ongoing curiosities about things. And in my point of view, it is kind of the way it happens when we become curious about something and we ask the questions when we're curious and courageous enough to even ask the questions, to find out. Um, Even if it isn't an answer or a conclusion, but just to explore, to be in the possibility of exploration or something else coming to us in the way of information or answers. So the answers in the end really came from her. They came from her, although she did then attribute it to this idea of being a god. And there she is, 11. But I think when you're 11, you might be pretty wise. But it gave me some things to think about as far as listening goes. And the conversation that I had with my daughter was also kind of enlightening in a way, in the way that she was thinking about the movie, like the characters that she liked and how she got something different from each of the characters, and how that's true and how life plays itself out for all of us. Each character can inform us in a different way and represent something different for us. And how wonderful it is when we do put a question to the outside and the answer doesn't come, and we can be in frustration for quite some time, but the opportunity, the invitation in it is not to give up questioning and not to give up hope, because if we stay in something long enough, we may not get the answer that we thought we would get, or we may not get actually what we thought we wanted, but something does come. And in time, I think that we really can let it land and we appreciate that. And we see that it's kind of the question is coming from the inside, but the answer is too. Like if we put ourselves out there enough, we're kind of always being brought back to ourselves to kind of look more inside for those answers, for that, that deeper sense of satisfaction. And the other thing that came up in the conversation with my daughter was about this, because we were talking about religion. We're going very soon, I think it is Thursday, we're going to a 4 or 5 day festival that is put on by a group of indigenous people. I don't know how long it's been going on for, but this will be our first year attending, and it's the Aniwas Festival. And their mission is to unite people of all races, colors, and creeds. And the purpose is to promote the healing and a deeper reciprocity with Mother Earth. And I was trying to have this conversation with my daughter because she knows that I get involved with indigenous things to a certain degree, and she may have an idea of what that means, but people are people, and I really appreciate rich traditions. And but here, their mission is to unite all people, all creeds, all colors. And I think that there's been a movement that hopefully is getting stronger to unite, because this movie really demonstrated how the label of a particular religion, even though the underlying essence of that religion might be the same as somebody else's religion, that essence, really deep of love, of community, of connection, of spirit, that if you really delve in deep to any kind of religion in it, and you get to the spirit of it, there isn't really a division, a sense of separation, only what we create through our labels. And I just have to say that when I was driving along with my daughter, I was attributing this same labeling, the same idea of labeling ourselves as an identity or as a particular kind of person. It's something that I've always been really sensitive around because I have daughters with disabilities. And we've been through the Western medical system, we've been through the IEP process, we've been through all of these arenas where it's a label can get uh, attached to you or slapped down upon you quite quickly. And what I discovered in that is that as soon as a label is given, we can treat that person as that label, or in whatever we conjure up in our own mind as far as what that label means. And if we were to go by medical labels and definitions, say both of my daughters would be labeled or diagnosed with cerebral palsy to different degrees. And as soon as somebody conjures up an idea of what that means in their own mind, it's usually not a very good image. And as far as the limitations of that person can be rather severe. So then the treatment of that person can correspond to whatever that label is conjuring up for a person. So I've been very diligent in not using labels because I can only imagine how this is for other people, whether it be around color, gender, sexuality, religion, spirituality, different kinds of diagnoses. And then at the same time, I understand to a degree, not fully for sure, how having a particular diagnosis can be helpful to a person to understand that and to say, oh, geez, this is what it is. Great. Now I can get a treatment for that. So that is wonderful, especially when it comes to mental illness and other kinds of challenges that are more invisible than the physical disabilities. Very prominent, but in a more invisible way. And we could go into a whole big conversation about that, but um, we won't right now. I haven't thought about it enough in this moment, but it is something I'm thinking about because there's so many conversations, especially with younger people now. There was my generation of people that we were more hushed around different kinds of conditions. You didn't speak it. The sun just came really strong in here. And now the younger generation it's almost like there's like a little bit of a contest going on with how many descriptive labels, diagnoses can you have for yourself? And I just wonder, and I haven't, I'm not judging that. I'm not saying it isn't helpful. I'm trying to understand it because it's a different perspective than one that I had found useful for myself and in raising my daughters, for them not to be treated, not, like that isn't your full identity. That may be an aspect of who you are that operates a particular way, but it isn't the totality. It's never the totality. So to hold a label about somebody and then put them into a box with all of these defining characteristics of what that label means, I'm not sure how helpful that is. So I'm exploring it now, and I think that this going and seeing this movie with my daughter brought that up. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about these things. I'm a little bit tired this afternoon, and I just came in from this long drive, and I'm getting ready to go to this Aniwa Festival, and I'm going to be meeting with a group of elders for an all-night ceremony that I'm really looking forward to. It will be my first time with with their traditional medicine, and it's from a different tradition than what I'm accustomed to. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, so that's it for now. Like, comment, share, and I would love to hear your comments on what you're thinking about along these lines, with listening, with identity, with labels, with what does it stir up for you, and what are your ideas? And I want it to just be really super clear for me. I don't have any judgments about any of it, or any conclusions. And I'm just kind of thinking out loud that this movie and this conversation with my daughter stimulated many things. And there's more thinking, more reflection that can happen around this for sure. So you have a beautiful day, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao for now.